Hello again. Today we're going to be talking about the PC game Wastewalkers. This game was developed by Corrosive Studios and originally released in September of 2014. There are multiple DLCs available for this game, but I'm only looking at the base game. To start with, how do you classify Wastewalkers? That's a tough one as it's not exactly like any other game I've ever played. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way that yes, this is an RPG Maker style game. I even recognize some of the sound effects as the ones I used in my Gunslinger game. So if you know you don't like RPG Maker games, then this may not be for you, but I'd encourage you to keep an open mind. Wastewalkers is a post-apocalyptic game with survivor game mechanics, standard RPG leveling, and enemy encounters with some crafting elements thrown in as well. The game begins with you choosing a gender, race, skin, and name for your character. Next you can pick where to spend attribute points between strength, endurance, dexterity, and conditioning. Luckily the game does a good job of telling you what putting a stat points in each of those will do. Once those are selected, you get to spend skill points on either passive traits or techniques. Passive traits include things such as raising vitality, increasing chances to counterattack, and raising your chance to avoid regular or critical attacks. Techniques are special moves that are powered by AP points which build up during battles. You have techniques such as heavy attacks to deal massive damage with an increased chance to miss. There's no shortage of choices for either passive or techniques. I do have to say that when I played the techniques, they never really felt worth it. Most regular battles ended before I could build up enough AP points to use a technique, so they didn't get used. There may be a good synergetic combination of passives and techniques that I just didn't pick. Every time you level up in the game, you get new skill points and attribute points to spend. Once your character is created, you start in the basement and must make your way back to your house to find clues about where your family is. As soon as you leave the basement and go up to the main level, you see an intruder in your home, and you either have to fight him or sneak around him. So if you do fight him, you get put into combat, and it's your typical RPG battle with enemies on one side and the main character on the other. You select your action for your character, and later on you select your actions for your allies if you recruit any. You attack, the enemy gets a turn to attack, and then it goes back to your turn. You do have the option to flee from battles, and the game even reminds you early on that this is not a game where you want to fight everybody. The first time I played this game, I nearly one-shot the intruder in the house, but the second time I played through the game, I had a series of misses and lost almost half my health with this very first encounter. I'm guessing this variance in combat is to lend to the apocalyptic survival theme of the game, so that you can't grind out mobs until you're OP. According to some community guides out there, the enemies actually auto-level to match you, so this definitely isn't a game where you can power level through it. There is a way to game the system by using your allies and not leveling them up, but I'll leave that to you if it's something you want to check into. Outside of combat, your character also has to deal with hunger, thirst, and radiation. These numbers are constantly ticking up or down, and it's possible to bring them back in line with supplies that you either find or you craft. I'm assuming the character dies if any of those numbers get too far out of the range. There was enough other things killing me in the game that I never found out. The game is very generous with the supplies that can be found after combat, in cars and in houses, and it really encourages exploration. The supplies you don't want to use can be sold off for money, which the currency in this game is coke tabs. There are crafting books you can find, but I never ran low enough on supplies that I felt like I needed to craft anything. Maybe I just didn't get far enough into the game where the crafted material gets better than the material you find out in the open. There are also weapons, bags, and armor to loot, and some of the techniques you learn actually require specific weapons, like bladed weapons or blunt weapons. To help you in combat, you can recruit allies to join you via quests you find in the game. It is a tremendous help to have people in your party to help split the damage coming in and to help dish out extra attacks. During my adventures I managed to recruit one ally, and there's at least one other ally that I know of, and there could be possibly more. Allies get their own skill points to spend whenever they level up. So far we have quests, leveling up, skill points, scavenging, and crafting all thrown into this game. This is a game that was lovingly crafted, but the game has no love for the player. There's absolutely no hand-holding in this game besides the tutorial and a quest log. The first place this game really kicked me in the knickers was the map. After leaving the basement to find my family, the quest log said to go northeast to look for my house, which I did. I went east, then north, then east, then north, and I never found my house. The overworld for this map is huge and it's very easy to get lost. In my travels to find my home, I ran into various enemies, looted a bunch of stuff, but I still couldn't find my house. Feeling defeated and aggravated, I checked the journal again and noticed there was a map option. First, I felt really stupid for missing the map option until I actually, clicked on the map and brought it up. This map is pretty much useless on its own. It has home circled on the map, but it doesn't show you where your main character currently is. With no clue where I was, I just decided it was easier to restart the game. On my second playthrough, I used a map from the community guides on Steam, and then I knew where to go. Too bad that on my second playthrough, the intruder in the house had a really good string of random hits and pretty much murdered me right there. I ended up going to a third playthrough where I did much better. On my third playthrough, I helped avenge a guy who had his items stolen, recruited an ally who I gave a health pack to, had a gun drawn on me by a survivor who later asked me to fix a radio, and found 2 different outposts of civilization. At best, I covered maybe 50% of the map on that run through. I never did find a clue where my family was, but sometimes it's about the journey and not the destination. This game has a lot going for it. It's content rich with quests, crafting, trying out different character builds, and exploration. I really only scratched the surface with my time with the game. I do have to ding the game for having such a poor map system. I know it's supposed to be a difficult game to start with, but the locations in the game, with the exception of the fortresses, they all really look alike when you're walking through the streets. This is a quality game with a lot of content for a fair price. At the time of I'm making this video, the game is actually on sale at Groupies for just a few bucks, and it includes all the DLC. This game was a little too difficult for my taste, but if this game sounds interesting at all to you, I encourage you to check it out.